everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, From Hype to Helpful, Real Talk on AI and AEC. I'm Katie Hunt, your moderator, and joining me today is Jill Powers and Thomas Carrier. And we're really excited to dig into what AI means for AEC teams and how to use it in practical and useful ways. I want to start by introducing our speakers. First, we have Jill Powers. Jill is a part of the sales team here at Slate, where she works with clients to understand their challenges and demonstrate how Slate's AI-driven tools can best support their needs. She's passionate about AI, especially its impact on the construction industry, and is dedicated to helping organizations harness its power to build smarter and more efficiently. Next is our technical expert, Thomas Carrier. Thomas is a part of the customer success team at Slate, where he implements Slate solutions with our global clientele. His background stems from architecture and planning, to computational design, digital fabrication, and now AI. Thomas is a US inventor, passionate about the AEC industry, and is driven to create lasting change in our built environment. I want to start off by saying thank you both for joining me today and everyone here on the call as we have real talk about AI and AEC. To dive right on in, my first question for you both is, a lot of people in construction hear AI and think buzzword. How would you each reframe what AI is into something more useful and practical? Jill, do you want to start us off?
AI can feel like just another buzzword, but in construction, think of AI as simply smart software that helps you make faster, better decisions with your data. It's not about robots taking over. It's about tools that can track progress, predict delays, or even catch errors before they cost you time and money. And instead of spending hours digging through spreadsheets or plans, let AI do the heavy lifting so your team can focus on building. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's great, Jill. I think of AI as a software technology tool, like you mentioned, and just like any other tool, it's a tool in our tool belts, right? It's for us to decide really how to learn it, how to utilize it, make it part of our project workflows, and then integrate and adopt on our projects. I find it really similar to other hardware and software technology tools I've encountered along my journey in my career. How do we successfully integrate BIM, computational design, additive and subtractive manufacturing, robotics, now AI? Right? So I think of it in terms of rapid development and prototyping. Testing and analyzing those results, understanding the value and the impact, and then implementing it when it makes sense for our business outcomes. So this is the way I try to put more focus in my approach to AI rather than and less of a buzz.
Yeah, absolutely. That concept of thinking about AI with more of a focus and intent as a tool is an important point to consider in this conversation. I think it's critical to not think of AI as this magical solution for everything, but rather a specific tool for a challenge. And so when we talk about AI specifically in construction, whether that's implementing it or using it on project teams, there's a lot of discussion around AI as a partnership versus AI as replacement. Can you both touch on that topic a little bit? Thomas, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. So again, we're talking about AI as an industry tool today. And I very much believe that it implies that, the humans, us, we're a part of this and we're not excluded or replaced. When I think about AI as a partnership, I think we retain that human aspect that we bring to the work. Our creative efforts, our physical efforts, after all, we're still the ones operating the machines, right? Even if a really cool robot is climbing an elevator shaft and autonomously completing portions of the work, we still have to do the quality control, right? So we have this responsibility, I believe, to implement, which requires a ton of change management. And I believe that's solely and exclusively left to us and our human teammates and leaders. What are your thoughts, Chip?
Yeah, Tom, you definitely covered most of this, but just to add, AI in construction should be seen as a teammate, not a replacement. On a project, the AI ultimately, it doesn't pour the concrete or run the meeting. It supports the people who do. For example, it can scan thousands of RFIs or submittals to flag risks faster than any human could, or track job site photos to highlight safety issues. That frees up project teams to spend more time solving problems, coordinating with subs, and keeping the job moving. The relationship's really about AI doing like the repetitive, time-consuming work so people can focus on the high-value decisions that require the actual human judgment.
Yeah, definitely. Being able to use AI as that tool to do tasks it's good at, while also like freeing up your own time to bring focus to the matters that require like more of a human touch, I think is a really fantastic application of AI. And this kind of brings me to the point that we all know that AI can do a lot. And it's getting more and more advanced every single day. But that doesn't mean it can replace human judgment altogether. Jill, where do you see humans needing to stay in the loop? And how do you reassure customers that people are still in control when AI is involved?
Yeah. I mean, as we know, AI can crunch numbers, spot patterns, anomalies, and surface insights faster than we can. But at the end of the day, it can't replace human judgment. And in construction, humans need to stay in the loop for context, experience, and decision making. Like, for example, AI might flag a potential schedule risk, but a project manager ultimately decides whether to resequence work, call the subcontractor, or negotiate with the owner. Customers can feel reassured knowing AI is a decision support tool. It's there to give teams better information, not to take the control away from them.
Yeah, absolutely, Jill. AI is implemented the best when there's that like balance of human input and AI input. And so I kind of want to take a deeper dive into what AI is and how we're seeing it used today. So when we break down AI into its basics, people often think about things like pattern recognition or summarization or like option generation and learning over time. Tom, can you walk us through a few quick examples of each of those in like an AEC context?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll take it from the top. So like something like pattern recognition, something AI is very good at. Maybe it's a reframing of a mindset. Maybe think to yourself, AI can potentially spot patterns that you might otherwise miss in your very complex data sets for, project or portfolio projects. For example, being able to analyze years of project data from your history, maybe identifying common themes or triggers across common projects, and to then interpret those findings and be able to make strategic decisions. And there's always this like learning loop as well. You're talking about like reinforcement learning, understanding whether there is that value or not. That's always part of sort of the training, right? And teaching it what to do. I think you spoke about like automated generation, right? And the idea could be, yeah, AI can solve and potentially generate options for you to refine something repetitive, perhaps, or something complex that returns iterations or something that you could potentially use. But even still there, the humans may be setting the parameters, identifying the guardrails, evaluating the results, of course, and maybe adding that creative insight. Maybe you're going to download it, refine it, put that human touch on it, right? I can think like more specifically about maybe something in a managerial role where maybe AI is catching these conflicts that you might overlook in again, like large complex data sets. An example might be cross-checking forms, whether that's, RFIs, submittals, all these different types of forms and data that we have on projects. What can it do to sort of analyze it against another data set, let's say your schedule, and create correlations because of that pattern recognition to be able to understand maybe some efficiencies that could be, or maybe some inefficiencies that might be. Being able to connect and sort of link all that data together allows you to surface information and make better data-driven decisions. You always have that like final review and professional sign-off, right? Because that is your job. Maybe one last thought would be something on maybe like the quality side of things. Maybe we think to ourselves, if AI can quickly synthesize project data, maybe coupled with something like our own internal processes or intellectual property, how we approach projects, how we approach problem solving, we can turn it into something deployable, sort of like right time information based on our very unique assets for our unique projects. So again, like analyzing the documentation, the forms. Maybe we can make something new, something that's combining all of these things. Maybe a lessons learned library or something that we can empower all teammates to adhere to and kind of deliver at the right time. And that way they can apply this information directly in the project context or specific project context.
Thanks, Tom, for breaking all that down for us. And that kind of leads me to my next question, and maybe Jill, you can take this one. For like roles like project managers or site leads, what's one everyday task where these applications of AI that Thomas just talked about, where are they already being implemented?
Sure. So with Slate, the real magic happens when we connect project schedules to forms, lessons learned, best practices, and even pulling in external data sources like weather. That combination gives project managers foresight into potential issues before they happen and gives you the ability to ensure past mistakes aren't repeated. So instead of reacting to delays or budget overruns once it's too late, our tech at Slate analyzes this data in real time, send you those urgent notifications and surfacing those early warning signs so that you have the ability to act quickly. At the end of the day, it's about really just about preventing rework, keeping your project on schedule, and protecting your budget. That's ultimately what it all boils down to.
Yeah, it's really cool to hear about how tech and AI are making these real world impacts, especially as we see AI being used in like many different industries. And so it really gets me thinking about how like consumer tech got us used to AI through things like assistants, recommendations, ChatGPT. And so Jill, what shifted to make AI more job site ready?
So I think what made AI job site ready is the shift from general consumer tools like recommendations or voice assists to AI that actually understands construction data like drawings, schedules, RFIs, submittals, photos. Instead of asking teams to change their current workflow, the best AI fits into how people are already working today. So for example, you don't need to learn a whole new system. Slate enhances what you're already doing by surfacing risks earlier, cutting down that paperwork, and keeping progress updates accurate. It's about working smarter with the same process, not replacing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone kind of relate. People don't always like change. And so to have that ability to maintain your current workflows, also implementing AI to me is a complete game changer. And so maybe Tom, why does it matter that AI models are within existing workflows for AEC versus just using like general AI models?
Yeah, existing workflows, sure. But even just to back out like a little bit, it's more like domain specificity in a way, like the AEC industry. Sometimes, we use some interesting language. I laugh sometimes about the word cricket. Like some people think it's an insect, some people think it's a game, and it is. But to others, it means, tapered insulation on a roof that drains water towards a drain, which is totally different, right? So we need to be able to identify certain things that we do that are sort of unique in the AEC industry. Terminology we use, being able to train our models on that terminology to be smarter about the results and get more accuracy out of that. So I do believe some sort of domain specificity as well as focusing on use cases and workflows is sort of crucial and paramount for getting accurate results and that value that we're all looking for. But to touch on it again, it's like, like you said, identifying a use case or a workflow within an organization, your organization, and then creatively trying to understand how you can apply AI and strategic thinking and creative problem solving to that is where I think we could see a little bit more focus and discipline in industry. And you mentioned some of these other kind of commercial tools earlier, like ChatGPT, for it's like I don't believe we're not creating the ChatGPT of the AEC industry. That's too open-ended. We're interested in developing and deploying the right tool for the job, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Accuracy has always been a top priority in AEC. And kind of what you were touching on earlier is like all of the different jargon we have in our industry and how that can really make it challenging to use those types of general AI models. So once we really start to be able to strategically apply that AI with that specific knowledge to our workflows, I think you're going to get a lot more out of it. And so this kind of brings me to this idea that humans set the intent and AI accelerates the work. Tom, how do you see that playing out on project teams in the field?
Yeah, project teams in the field have this immense responsibility to collaborate and communicate and make decisions and execute projects, right? So maybe now we have a new tool in our tool belts. It's an opportunity, I believe, like a really amazing, exciting opportunity to maybe reframe our mindsets and even develop potentially a new mindset or perspective on how to be successful with new tools, especially tools like AI. As humans, I truly believe still that we have this spirit about us, entrepreneurial. Everyone has creativity within them. And when we think about use cases, those focus areas, the problems that we're looking to solve, because we're working on very strong collaborative teams, then we can start to work together and identify ways, like new ways to create new value that we actually couldn't do before. So I get really excited about the people on site and all of the amazing things that you rely on your teammates for. We always called each other rock stars. You're a rock star because you're good at this thing, or you're the go-to person, or you work really great in these scenarios. Rock stars could be people that are great at public speaking or great at drafting documentation or following up, but also people that are really good with technology tools, right? And I think of AI as this accelerator in a way to help us all use our collective knowledge, really use it for good reasons and for purpose. Bringing all of those things to then the surface, I believe that maybe we're evolving even still with our terminology, and maybe we're all going to be like super rock stars one day, right? Because we've been just released because AI is able to help us accomplish so many more things than ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that concept of using AI as a tool to become a rock star or super rock star, however you want to say it. But, I think it's also important to think about trust. It's such a big part of using AI. Jill, how do teams build confidence in these tools while still keeping ownership of their decisions or of their data? Can you touch on that?
Sure. So, trust is really built when teams see AI as transparent and supportive, not some black box. So, that means they must be able to see where the AI got its insights from and still have that control to make the final call. And just as important, teams need to know their project data stays secure under their control and no one else has access to it. So, what I love about Slate, the way we designed our tools, it's the data belongs to the customer and it's only visible to that customer and who they give permission to view it. The AI only enhances, never overrides their decisions at the end of the day. Like that way, the teams stay in control, and that allows the AI to become more of like that trusted partner versus something to fear.
Yeah, and I like, we've talked a bit about AI as this like tool for the individual. So I like how you're also framing it as a tool for teams. And we've heard the phrase your competitors or companies using AI. What does that really mean for firms in construction today, and how does that affect them?
When people are saying your competitors are using AI, it really just means other firms are already finding ways to save time, to cut costs, and to win more work by using these various tools. It's really less about robots taking jobs, and it's just more about efficiency. If one GC can process submittals or track job progress twice as fast, they're going to deliver projects more smoothly and then stand out to more owners. So the message really isn't if you use AI, it's more just when. And I think the really good news is it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is just that you start. And my experience and here at Slate, like we see even like really small first steps, like automating document review or progress tracking. It really gives firms this immediate competitive edge.
Yeah, I really love that phrase you said. It isn't if you use AI, it's when, and it doesn't matter where or how you start, but that you start somewhere. And so when firms do start using AI, the big question is, how do we measure if it's working? Thomas, what are some simple metrics construction teams should track to prove value? Or like, what's the easiest way for a construction team to measure whether AI is even adding value?
Hmm. That's a good one. I mean, right off the top of my head, I always think about like the way that you can like reinforce AI, right? You can give it the old thumbs up or thumbs down. That's nice, right? Like saying I appreciated the value in that response or the accuracy or what have you of that response. That's definitely one way. And if you're working with a technology partner, I'm sure there's ways to like track the user metrics, right, of the platform, the software that you're working in, definitely. But even simpler than that, at least in my experience working with customers, it's about talking to one another, actually, like, and collaborating with one another, again, is sort of like humans, because we're the ones that are kind of driving force in this anyway. So interview your project teammates. I mean, don't interrogate them, but, ask them about their experiences, ask them about if they're able to evaluate and confirm the validity and the usefulness of the results that are being generated. What could be better? What did you really like? What types of opportunities do you see? And working together as a team and hearing from our teammates, we might start to identify trends again about what is working, where the value is, and we can start to elaborate and build on top of that, or even find new opportunities. Maybe you can also start, just like Jill said, right? Like, that's such a beautiful phrase. Like, doesn't matter where you start as long as you start. I love that. And like, if you start to track projects that are, or those workflows that are using AI versus ones that are not, can you start to benchmark some of your workflows, but with new tools implemented, right? So when you have a new tool and you want to deploy it, now you might not be using it on project A, but maybe it is on project B. And what are the differences, or what are the similarities? What things may you uncover if you are using a specific tool or technology versus if you're not? And then when you're ready, go big, like integrate more data sources and metrics. This is sort of a repeatable process, this endless like collaborative learning loop, both with the technology, but also with our colleagues. And what does it mean for your cost savings, right, Jill, and your time savings, getting down to just the bottom line, your quality, your safety, the results of all of those efforts that we all put in and day out for years on projects, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you frame it in a way that's so approachable. And it's not like a huge endeavor to try and do, but rather you think about it in a way that AI is adding only as much value as you make it. And there's a big focus on having a true intent on how you want to use AI. And once you have that intent, I think, it'll really clue you in on how well it works and how much it's really adding to everything. And so as we start to kind of wrap up our conversation here, I think it's important to recognize that not everyone comes to AI from the same place. Some people are, curious about it. Some people are a little bit more hesitant, and others are really ready to just dive right in and start using it. So, Tom, what are some practical next steps you might suggest for each of these different mindsets?
This is a good one for me, because anybody that knows me, I'm very experimental and sort of pride myself in my creativity sometimes. But I always like working with people with new technology tools, new software tools, hardware tools. Again, like if you're experimental, there's no better place to start than to start. But maybe something I could suggest is what is one of those repeatable tasks that you do week in, week out? Something that's valuable, not only to your company, but maybe also your customers or whomever the product is going to. And you could ask yourself just generally, could AI help with this type of task or this type of analysis, pattern recognition? And then I would urge you, like, just try it. Go out there. There's plenty of free tools out there. Explore, one AI tool for 15 minutes on a use case or a focus area of your choice and see what happens. Just see what happens, right? For the curious, maybe you've experimented and you want to get a little bit more focused in your effort. Webinars such as this, you want to figure out potentially who you should be following, what you should be reading, and then maybe ask yourself again, not only who or what should I be listening to, but be hyper focused on staying aware of what's possible. But watch out for those tools and those folks that are talking about problems that you're also trying to solve, so like problems that you also have in your organization, as a professional. You talked about people that might be a little resistant to change, hesitant, perhaps. That's fine. That's like healthy in a way, from my point of view. There's always a good healthy dose of, I'm not quite sure. But no one's going to know if you try, right? So I won't tell anybody if you don't. But, if you think to yourself and reframe your mind that, AI isn't going to replace me. And maybe don't even do it for yourself. Maybe do it for others. Do it for your clients, the partner businesses that you work with, your colleagues, your coworkers, your business at large. And maybe bring a new mindset to the way that you think about operating, and maybe you could open your mind a little bit more to advanced tools and technologies like AI, and bring yourself into a new light as like a professional who brings not only that expertise and all the things you're amazing at, but also this newfound like efficiency, something like that superpower we were talking about earlier. Outline areas of the process that you want to impact, create business cases, where could AI help, and then maybe become experimental with it, right? And I guess people that are ready to, dive right in, go for it. I mean, hey, reach out to Jill, myself, Katie, anybody at Slate Technologies, talk to industry professionals and partners. Like, should you reach out to Slate and have a chat with us? Of course you should. Like, there's no reason not to, right? If that's a good place to start for you, then we'd be happy to have a chat. So I say, again, maybe break outside of the shell a little bit, figure out exactly what it is where you want to focus, and there's always opportunities to grow or even begin.
Absolutely. Thank you. Jill, do you have anything else you want to add?
I mean, that was a great answer. I will say, I'm in sales, so just reach out to me. Let's hop on a call. We'll talk about your challenges, your goals. I want to get an understanding of what your current workflow looks like and ways we could potentially make some improvements. And then together, along with my incredible team, we can help recommend which of our suite of products best fit your immediate needs, align with your current workflow, don't recreate the wheel. And then, we'll figure out what's needed from you to get started. And my email is in my name below, so feel free to shoot me a note.
All right. Well, I just wanted to say a really big thank you to our speakers, Jill and Thomas, for sharing their viewpoints on AI and AEC. Hopefully, we did a pretty good job breaking down AI in a bit more of an approachable way for everyone. And now that we've shared our opinions, we want to touch on the topics that matter most to you. So if anyone has any questions or topics you'd like us to talk about, go ahead and put them in the chat now. So it looks like we do have one question up first. So coming from Audrey, what are some examples of the kinds of data or platforms Slate usually connects with, and how does it all fit into a project?
You want me to take that one, Jill?
Sure. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I got this one. Well, I mean, to be specific, our system is platform agnostic. We do have pre-built integrations with Procore and Autodesk Construction Cloud, and we're adding more. We can always work with like quick deploys or custom integrations. We actually enjoy that sort of work with our customers. For data typologies, we do use Schedule as sort of the data backbone, a variety of file formats, P6, Power Project, you name it, really. additional data such as RFIs, submittals, change orders, punch lists, your internal intellectual property, maybe SOPs, like best practices. Those are things that kind of get layered on top, so to speak, and then get connected. So we can even work with semi-structured data, if that's where you are right now, something that exists outside of one of these platforms, Excel, perhaps, PDFs, attachments to all of those forms we were just discussing, and even handwritten notes. I mean, we kind of love seeing the data, and we love to use as much as we can whenever possible. So I hope that's clarifying.
Yeah, absolutely. We have another question coming up. Looks like someone was on our website. What are the main pain points you see project intelligence helping with? Any quick examples of how it actually made life easier on a project team?
Sure, I'll answer that. I was recently on a call with a client to discuss whether or not they wanted to renew with us. So on this call, I asked them to include the actual end users in the conversation along with the executive teams, like the folks that actually will sign the paperwork. And it was a really great conversation. One superintendent said, our lessons learned saved him from doing a lot of rework multiple times, saved him a lot of time, a lot of money. So I asked for specific recent examples, and I remember him saying he was going to use the wrong size screw for wood framing until he saw the lessons learned notification pop up from Slate, which was great to hear. And needless to say, they renewed their contract with us. And Tom, you've been with the company since pretty much the start, so I'm sure you have a lot of examples, recent examples to share.
Yeah, I love that story. That's a good one about the screws. And it's structure, right? That's interesting, because I can think of an example that I heard from a customer. We were utilizing their data also to create like lessons learned. And then on top of it, it was like these standard operating procedures. If certain things were to arise, like what do I do? So the AI was supposed to kind of understand where you were in the project and then give you kind of this like heads up, like, hey, maybe you should check these things before you go and do that work. So very specifically, working with a customer who is about to like tile a whole bunch of like units, and this tile activity is coming up, and the Slate's artificial intelligence kind of surfaced the idea that, hey, why don't you do these things like before you go install that tile, just to make sure. And one of the things on the checklist was to check the location of the electrical outlets. And wouldn't you know it, they went out into the field and they checked the location of the electrical outlet, and it was not in the right position. So instead of, laying all that tile, then understanding that, and then having to make, a change, kind of avoided that risk, reduced all of that rework. Okay, we still have to move the electrical outlet, no worries, but we don't have to remove and then reinstall the tile, which is very cool. So I was thinking of that story where, I don't know, it's sort of, it might be those things that you don't even realize, right? Like we talk about screws, we're talking about electrical and tile, but there's still all these opportunities for us to like learn from all of our past experiences, so we don't make that same mistake twice, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great answers from both of you guys.
A lot of really cool stories, like working with our customers and partners at Slate. Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions in the chat. So Jill, I actually had a question for you, just because I know you've worked for a bunch of different tech before, and you've sold a lot of different types of tech. So you have that unique perspective as to just kind of seeing what else is out there. What made you want to join Slate, and like what might feel different about it compared to other tools you've seen?
Great question. Over the years, I have been really fortunate to work with a lot of different technologies. But when I first saw a demo of Slate, it really stood out to me. It was really clear that this was something that the construction industry not only needed, but has been waiting for. It's very innovative, it's relevant, and it solves problems that have been around for decades. Which I find exciting. And I really wanted to be a part of bringing that kind of transformation to the industry, which is why I'm here and why I joined Slate.
Well, it's amazing to hear that. Thank you for answering.
Yeah.
So we're just about up at our time today. So if there's any last minute questions, go ahead and shoot them in the chat. And if we don't get them today, we'll happily respond to them at another point in time. Again, I wanted to say a big thank you to Jill Powers and Thomas Carrier for joining me today and kind of hopefully breaking down AI and AEC in more of a usable and practical way. So like I said, if anyone has any other further questions or if you'd like to get in contact with us, all of our contact information is on the slide. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Super shout out to Katie, our moderator, and everybody who's joining us. Thank you so much.
All right, have a good one, everybody. See you next time.
Appreciate you.